Um, it is hard to say. We are on the EMA. This isn't an M2B though. Um, this is your high one. It's also in this range. It's on the top of the range, which is good. This isn't really a high two. This is more of a high one pullback. Oops. And there was no real high one before. Like this is not. I'm not going to consider this a high one. So yeah, this is just the high one pullback, not high two pullback. Don't like that. It is, however, the second leg down, potential second leg down. That's why it's kind of like, I guess if it breaks above this, you're supposed to buy. But on the next bar, I'm saying. I don't know, my headphones are being weird. Oh, I should have paused that. Like, can't it just do this kind of thing before we come back to... I mean, even if this would be the buy. This is too much, right? This is too much sideways activity at this point. This also feels like too much sideways activity. I feel like this is a little too much sideways activity, right? That would make this the buy. And then probably need something like a little better than this. I don't know, dude. I mean, really the thing is, this last bar, not a good bar. This is not a signal bar. And if this closes as a doji, as it was threatening to do so just a couple minutes ago, then, you know, that's just not the wave. Now this is what I did want to do. Because I do need to figure this out. We must figure this out. Okay, so this was the first bounce. This second bounce, 2 legs up. 1 leg down, 2 legs down, right? Or 1 leg down, 2 legs down. I would like that more. Double bottom here, pumpy pump there. Then probably, I mean, if this was a situation that's set up, I mean, we should be aiming for like this region, right? If we re-enter this range, we should theoretically, you know, try and push to the bottom of the range. So before we get it, but if we do get this pump up and there's this much of a time gap, I would expect to have some sort of maybe range activity, and maybe we build something like this where it just keeps going up, or maybe we like try and re-enter this range or this range. A lot of ranges in here, right? Because it's a channel. That's ultimately the big problem with this situation is we're in a channel, and no matter how aggressively we move, we never seem to make a convincing break out of the channel. Here we get a nice break of the channel, but that's not a good thing because first of all, we've rejected back into the channel, I mean, it really depends on how we deal with this range. If we just continue to reject off of it and continue bouncing, like we could just keep going. But certainly, if we do get back into the range and then we never break out and like we do a double top here, like there's just Now, the exact same situation I was talking about up here, that if we break back into the range, we should shoot for the bottom of the range. Same thing here. We've broken back into the range. If we don't convincingly exit this range, we're shooting for the bottom of the range here. We're shooting for 43K. If we get into 43K, because there was a range here, we should probably get some sort of bounce, maybe back to the top of this range, and then we take a shot at 41K. It's really tough to say. I mean, this is pretty sharp. This is quite a sharp, like, at what point do we not just go like this? Like, you know what I mean? Oops. So that was what was going on, right? Like, at some point this will make a lot of sense. Like, right now. Like, if we did this, this makes tons of sense. It's kind of the only thing. Maybe this, like, bounces off this EMA and somewhat off the bottom of this range, and then we just go. Very possible. Over the course of the next couple of days. Yeah, but I think this reaction to this range in particular is quite important. Like, let's make it a tight range, you know? You make it a tight range, and now we're nicely on top of it. If we close this candle like this, and the next one broke above this candle, yeah, 44.6, I would think we're going past 45 again. Of course, there's still many time to be had in this candle. And like, we're having one push down, second push down. Like, if we close this like this with this wick here, if we close at 44,360 or whatever, with a wick like that, I will 100% buy this candle, by the break of this candle. That's just too high probability, right? You have to buy that. So that's on the horizon potentially. I do think that it makes a lot of sense for us to take another leg down here. Not just because it will line up well with this. Like, here are the many confluences. Okay, first of all, we have one push down. We need a second leg down. Second of all, this as a quote unquote leg down is in itself, as we showed on lower time frames, one leg. So even this is probably looking for a second leg down. And of course, we have one push up, two push up. That's why we're thinking possibly two legs down. Maybe first leg down, second leg down, Maybe first leg down, second leg down, also kind of right? It depends. That's the other one. Then we have entering the range, channeling. It looked strong, but it ended up being pretty weak, as evidenced by the strength of this candle, right? Channeled, bear flag, broke down. Now looking for and expecting, to some extent, I'm never going to get this arrow, whatever, a second leg down to this level. The other thing is we're back into this range on this candle here, right? We entered the range, rejecting the attempt to push outside of the range, the pullback breakout. So we broke out of this range, right? Pulled back to the range, tried to break out of the range, again trying to re-enter the range. So if we're unable to break out of and again trying to exit this range now, right? Like here, this is our attempt right now to exit the range. If we do exit the range, that's good, that's cool, you know? But if we do enter the range, much more likely that we take a shot for the low of the range, 43.8, possibly even the low of this wick. I mean, I think there's going to be a shit ton of buying here. Like, if we get to this level, we're going to get a big bounce, I think. Is that bounce going to be sustained? Who knows, right? Maybe we get that big bounce, and then it just collapses through the floor. But if we push out, and then This seems very reasonable, right? This looks like something you would see happening on a chart. Rejecting rejecting again this range, exiting the horizontal range, bouncing, putting in one leg down, two legs down, exiting or bouncing from the bottom of the horizontal range. So therefore we try and take a shot at the top of the horizontal range. Same kind of thing with if you are making some sort of channel. You can't make a channel just yet because there's only two legs, right? But you can start thinking of a channel. This would mark the bottom of the channel. So same kind of thing. We probably want to take a shot towards the top of what could possibly be considered the channel. It really depends on how you draw it, right? And then if we break through that top of that channel, and especially if we break this high here, then we're probably going to have a breakout pullback to either this horizontal range or the top of this channel, or some other level that we kind of build as we continue to go. And then if we get a nice bounce from there, like this seems very reasonable, very, very reasonable, and pretty much just textbook buying. I do think that this thrust, of all of the thrusts that we've had, like let's do it like this. Let's draw the channel first so that it's easier to understand what I'm saying and easier for me to draw it too. Okay, all of the major thrusts that we've had in the channel, and I'm not saying this is a major thrust, right? I'm saying we were in a range and then we took a thrust out of that range. So like here we had a range, here we thrusted out of that range. Here we had kind of a range, thrusted out of that range. Again, we have kind of a range here, thrusted out of the range. Let's put a mark on this one. In fact, I'm just going to delete this just so that it's a clearer chart, right? Then we had this consolidation, thrust out of the range. Same thing here, consolidation, weak thrust out of the range, okay? Big consolidation down, let's talk about the sideways, thrust out of the range. Same thing here, consolidation. I mean, here you kind of have a thrust out of this range, and then it stays in the same range, and then you get a thrust out of this range. This is actually pretty interesting because this is something that could very reasonably happen right here, right? Like this is exactly kind of what we're looking at. We had a strong push up, sideways. We took another high right back into that range, and then interestingly enough, in this scenario, we tapped the channel before going higher. Who knows? Maybe it would just tap down to here or something like that. You never know. Anyway, and then again, consolidation here and thrust. So why have I put arrows? The arrows represent the times where we had a seemingly strong consolidation near the high of a thrust, right? I mean, of a big move. This doesn't have to necessarily be a thrust. Big move, consolidation near the high, final flag. It looks like it is a flag, and then it ends up being a final flag. You just get one thrust out of there, and then it rejects. And it's a weak thrust, right? This was just 1.5% or something like that, not even 1.5%. The next situation, same here. Strong push, consolidation near the high of this flag, right? And then let's say like if this is your thing, and then this is your thrust, again 1.5%, and this time kind of weak, like a weak thrust here makes another, like this almost is its own channel, right? This almost becomes its own channel, and then another thrust out the top. Rejection, rejection, rejection. Nice strong thrust here. This was also at the bottom of the channel. This was also near the bottom of the channel. This is also basically at the bottom of the channel. And this one is also basically at the bottom of the channel. So basically whenever we get to the bottom of the channel and we get a thrust, we get a decent move. Whenever we get a thrust off of a flagpole near the high of the channel, we kind of get a weak move, and that rejects. So we're kind of at that same situation here. Strong push, flag, and then a thrust upward that gets rejected right back into the range. So this is another reason why we do want to be a little bit careful. And of course, don't forget, we have all this right here, major resistance overhead. and it's been that way for a long time, right? So it while we do still want to remain, to an extent bullish, I mean, we're still looking for buys more than we are looking for sells. If you're flat right now, right? Like obviously, if you're in a position, if you're in a short, you're probably from up here, you're probably feeling pretty decent. But if you're long or you're looking for longs, you're probably in the situation where where you're looking for a trade. If you're in a long or if you're looking for a trade, you're probably in a situation where you're looking for buying to continue entering the market. And by the way, yeah, looks like we were right about possibly getting another push down. Now this could be like, we're already at 0.618. Sometimes second legs are weak enough that they kind of end right there. And like if we just get a bounce back up through here, like maybe we just continue upwards right now. But I wouldn't be surprised to see us take this low out or even this low. Anyway, yeah, this is kind of, and the other thing is like we do have, let's say that we don't consider this a channel including all this. Let's say we consider this a spike and then a channel that begins following the spike, which is not unreasonable. There may be people drawing like this kind of thing. We might consider this the first push, this the second push, and this the third push. Maybe. I mean, it looks to me more like there's four pushes, four or more pushes. But yeah, you can maybe. I'm sure there's some way to draw the chart. Let's start clearing drawings out now. I'm sure there's some way to draw this chart that looks like three pushes. I mean, this honestly looks more like two pushes only. This kind of looks like four pushes. I mean, this kind of looks like one push, two push, and then three push, considering this to be the same move. I can get down with that, yeah. So there's a couple ways to make this, and then you can also like consider this one leg up, second leg here would comprise of two legs, comprised of one, two. I mean, even this is three. This is ABC. I mean, this is a five-way move, right? Anyway, I think we are waiting, and I think we are going to be looking for buys. I think it's somewhat safe to buy this area if we see some bullish strength. I think it should be quite safe to buy this level with or without the presence of bullish strength. I mean, like obviously if we come into this area and we just continue going, then like okay, you lost. You try to catch a knife and it didn't really work out. But I think for the most part there should be a lot of buying in this area, just like last time. This got swallowed up in seconds, or in a couple minutes. So I think the same thing could happen here. You might even get a dip that low, but then I think something like this would happen. I think if and when we get to this level, there will be a heavy bid on it. And like you can just enter the position, and then if you don't like how it looks like this, you'll probably get something like this before you lose the whole level. And maybe you won't get this much time. Maybe you won't get like 12 hours or whatever this is. Maybe it'll just happen like right here or something like that. But, if you buy in right here and you say, okay, I don't like the way it's looking and I got to sell right here, then you do that. You have to be quick on the draw. You have to be sharp with your decision making. But yeah. Anyway, let's take a look at this bear situation just looks like second leg, right? And then double bottom here, exit or bottom of the range here. Like somewhere we should get a bounce. And I think we and almost everybody else should be looking to long that. What I don't know is if we break above this level. Maybe we don't. Maybe we just get back and do a double top and then start to peter out momentum. But I certainly don't think that we're just going to go down in a straight line like this right now. I don't think that's happening. I think there's a lot of places that we should catch a bounce first, even if we don't break above this level. Even if we don't break above 45K again, like this could, like if this is the last stop before 20K, I think we should get above mid 44s again before we see 20K or 25K or whatever. I don't think this type of just straight down line is gonna happen. I mean, even if this straight line down does happen, I'll expect something like this. You should be able to get a sell off in here. You should like almost 100% of the time be able to get a sell off in there. Okay, that's all I got to say on this right now. Yeah, like we're just trying to be patient, and this is exactly the type of candle that you see on at the 5 o'clock or at the daily open hour. Oh, daily open hour is closing in 2 minutes. I see. But yeah, this is exactly the type of junk you see. This is like, well, I mean, really don't want to break below this candle, to be honest. That would be probably pretty not good. I mean, it would be not good in the sense that we will be horizontal ranging, which is not really what you want in this type of nice bullish trend that we've been seeing, right? Like it's been pretty sharp. Like we haven't had a whole lot of overlap between candles. Like we had overlap here with the wick and this body, but it produced this beautiful inside bar setup that we could buy here. So like we don't really consider it so much as overlap. I mean, of course it is overlap, and then we have the overlap of this as well. But like it was top of the thing overlap, middle of the bar overlap, basically the entire bar overlap, and then the bottom of the bar. Like we clearly broke out of the range, like that, with a test of the bottom of the range. Like that's good. That's a good sign. Little bit of overlap here on this bar, but mostly new territory, right? At least half of the bar is new territory. Even though we weren't able to close, like that's not a good sign. We had not a great close. But yeah, if we did like started ranging in here, don't love it. Don't really love it because it's just producing more and more and more overlap, which is not what we want. Right here, too much overlap. This came out and then dead. Up here, too much overlap here. Came down here. Wasn't enough. Then we had a lot of overlap in here that we broke back up, but we'd gone too far for too long. This is all you got. Dead on eyeball. I mean, obviously this is nothing but overlap, right? I guess this is not so bad. If you do it like this, then this is bad, but yeah, it's not so bad. So yeah, we gonna just look for like this is a horrible close. This is a horrendous close. Let's look if there's like shorts here to be taken. I think like let's try the 2 hour real quick. In the 2 hour, we got back into the range. Pull back. I mean, this is your trigger. This is your short trigger. Probably like to here. So it's basically a 1-to-1. Not the best short trigger. Not the best short. But, I mean, probably it's pretty reasonable to get you some money. Like, this is a strong leg. We probably want to put in a second leg of similar strength. That would take us down here. Yikes! We really don't want to see that. I'm not sure that bulls are really going to let that. I mean, they might let it be tapped, but I don't think they're going to let it be taken. So we'll see. We'll keep up with this. Yeah.